There it is. Welcome home, Bitcoin truth seekers. It is Wednesday, March 18th, 2020. It's 7:29 a.m. here in the Arizona desert. And here's the little intro. All right, today it's a green day in the market so far. Definitely a volatile morning, but the market is a mix of green and red. That is nice to see. Bitcoin up 2%. It did break the 5,300 level and it seems to be holding that. That is pretty rocking. Bitcoin's been moving sideways a bit as we can see. This is a daily chart. I'm not going to drill down on it too much today because this really is the big news. We're getting sideways on the daily and the MACD is closing towards positive. This is good. So that sideways motion is power. In the midst of uncertainty, Bitcoin has found a bottom, it appears, and it's moving sideways. That's pretty rocking. But let's start where we always tend to start. Actually, let's not start where we always start. Let's start somewhere else. I linked to this in the show notes, or just look at YouTube and search for the Crypto Lark. His video today is really good, and he just gets into, I could summarize it very quickly, that most of the sell, pressure that we've seen recently that has brought the price down, well, whales. But at the same time, there's a very good case to be made that it is people who bought Bitcoin in the last year. So if you're a hodler, really, it's not so much the long-term hodlers that got shaken out, who know how to stack sats and chill. It's the weak hands. It's the people who are new into it and the whales that, of course, manipulate things. So anyway, it's good. He breaks down some numbers here. It's good to watch if you're interested in seeing, well, where is the Bitcoin? How's it actually really moved recently? This is good. He summarizes some recent news, which is really, really boring to read. So he summarized it for us. Worth a few minutes to listen if you so desire. Dow Jones Industrial Average today, well, green day. Day is young. We shall see how it goes. S&P 500 today. Green day so far. Oh, now it's a red day. Pretty much the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P so far are opening, well, kind of weak, but at least not immediately pumping nor dumping. Let's look at the Russell 2000. All right, red day. And since the Russell and the S&P are red, let's look at the Dow Jones again. It's still hanging in there green. So basically, market is opening sideways and pretty much kind of weak. With that said, let's look at gold. All right, gold seeing a red candle so far today. And as Jonathan Regan, one of the people who runs Blockchain Education, mentioned, his take on why Bitcoin was dumping, well, not Bitcoin, I'm sorry, gold was dumping, is that when your investors are fearful, they go to gold. When they're panicked, they go to cash. So that may help explain that theory, why gold has been dumping so viciously recently. But maybe it's finding some sideways action here on the daily. We shall see. All right, Tether into Bitcoin last 24 hours, 5.57 billion. That's pretty darn good. This is only showing some, basically, here on CoinLib.io. It's showing, some of the exchanges. Of course, there is more Tether into Bitcoin, but this at least gives us kind of a daily measurement we can look at. So, 5.57 billion into Bitcoin last 24 hours. How much volume? 1.5 million, or you might just say 1.5 billion. And you summarize that as just round it up to 1.6 billion last 24 hours, not bad. Whereas most of that on Binance, 740 million of that on Binance, and Coinbase definitely showing up at 262 million. So, what is the sentiment out there on Binance, longs versus shorts? Well, longs 47%, shorts 52%. That disparity between those two is definitely beginning to close. And I will say that the longs versus shorts on Binance do tend to lean towards slightly the cynical side. So we shall see. This is getting pretty close. I would definitely see improving sentiment on Binance where the big money is moving. So Blockchain Whispers says the current sentiment is indecisive. I'm going to say personally, my current sentiment is positive. We're up over 2%. We've broken the 5,300 level. Looks like we're going to hold that. It makes green and red in the market, but Like I say, the sideways action of Bitcoin, and we can even go down to like the 4 hour if we want, and you can see we are building some nice powerful sideways action, and the MACD is positive on the 4 hour for Bitcoin. So this is Bitcoin versus Tether on Binance. Sideways is power, sideways is certainty. Um, this is, if you look at it, it's better than some of the big markets are doing, the big indices. So with that said, boom, power, strength, good. This is nice. Bitcoin is, it looks like it's found its bottom and it's going sideways in a crazy world. I like seeing that. Something else that I'm going to mention here. This is again something that was noted over at Blockchain Education. Jonathan Regan, one of the guys who runs it, he did notice this. If you do this beautiful fib line here, this fib retracement on Ethereum versus BTC on the 4 hour chart on Binance, you can see we have a double bounce here, well, double bottom on the 618 fib line. That's definitely a place where things usually bounce. So, I mean, I am really an Ethereum fan. I know this is a Bitcoin daily view, but pretty much the world's about Bitcoin and Ethereum, and well, maybe Litecoin if you're very optimistic. But with that said, this is definitely a place where you could see a bounce for Ethereum on the 618. So keep an eye on it. Ethereum's important, smart contracts matter, and as the world's fiat currencies get a little crazy, Ethereum is how you're going to see smart contracts for international trade. Keep an eye on this. Ethereum's definitely, looking at the 4 hour chart here, at a possible bounce point. Not financial advice, of course, entertainment purposes only, but note this. It is important. We'll keep an eye on this. Bitcoin's about more than the daily price action, but it sure is nice to see it finding a bottom and moving sideways. It's important. I'm glad you're here for the peaceful revolution. As always, I'm a member of Blockchain Education. Don't have a picture of it up right now, but I gave some tips from there recently. I gave some tips from there that I've seen recently that I think are definitely helpful. So with that said, check out the link in the description, watch the video, learn more about blockchain education. Let's make money together in 2020. I want to believe in Bitcoin. I'm sure you do too because you're here. Obstacles can't stop you, weather can't stop you, heartbreak can't stop you, failure can't stop you, only you can stop you. Thanks for being a member of the peaceful revolution. And let's just one more time look at that. Oh, it's beautiful. Bitcoin, sideways on a 4 hour chart, sideways on a daily, MACD positive on the 4 hour chart, MACD trending positive on the daily. Boom, I think we're getting ready to see something glorious in the next few days. Take care.